The Galactic Senate was a place of power, fear, and unspoken rules. Floating high above the capital planet, it gathered the richest and most powerful beings in the universe. Billions of eyes watched the live broadcast, waiting for the next move in the war for control. The Emperor, sitting high on his golden throne, smirked at the chaos below. Senators begged for peace, but he ignored them, mocking Earth and its helpless colonies. Human worlds were burning, their people dying, but the Emperor didn't care. His laughter filled the chamber as Earth's cries for help went unanswered. Then, a door opened, and a man stepped inside. He had no rank, no army, and no weapons. He was just a single human, standing alone in the midst of the galaxy's most powerful leaders. The cameras zoomed in, and the crowd fell silent. The guards tensed, unsure of what to do. The Emperor's smile faded as he saw the man approach, walking calmly toward him. This was someone not on any list. No one knew him, but the man's presence commanded the room. He stopped in the center and looked directly at the Emperor, speaking just 5 words. The room held its breath. The Emperor's eyes narrowed, trying to read the stranger standing before him. The 5 words the man had spoken echoed in the silence, their weight sinking into the air. "I demand the Emperor's judgment." The chamber seemed to freeze. Senators stared at each other, unsure how to react. The Emperor, usually so in control, began to feel the shift. His throne, once a symbol of absolute power, suddenly felt like a cage. The stranger, a man with no army, no power, had just challenged him, and not with weapons, but with words. For a long moment, no one moved. The Emperor's hand gripped the armrests of his throne, and the room waited, on edge. The laws of the Empire were clear. No one could challenge the Emperor. No one had ever dared. But there was something in the man's eyes that made the Emperor hesitate. He had expected defiance, maybe even fear, but not this calm certainty. The senators shifted uneasily, some looking at the Emperor, others at the stranger. There was no turning back now. The man had invoked a forgotten law, one that even the Emperor couldn't ignore. A law that allowed for one thing: trial by honor. The stranger had made his move, and now the galaxy would watch as the Emperor faced a challenge like never before. The Emperor's hand trembled slightly as he stood, but his voice remained steady. "You dare challenge me," he growled, his eyes locking with the stranger's. But the man, Kael Ren, did not flinch. His gaze never wavered, calm and unwavering. He knew what was coming. The law he invoked had not been used in centuries, but it was still in the Senate's ancient code. And now it had been awakened. Kael Ren stepped forward, his voice carrying across the chamber. "I do not challenge you for power," he said softly. "I challenge you for the truth." He unrolled an ancient scroll, its edges frayed and worn with age. It had been hidden away, lost in the archives of the Empire, but Kael had found it. The scroll contained a forgotten law, a law that stated the Emperor could be judged in front of the Senate if the people believed he was unfit to rule. The Emperor's eyes flashed with anger, but Kael's words had already begun to sink in. He pulled up holographic images, one by one, each more damning than the last. The crowd gasped as images of human colonies in flames flashed across the Senate floor. Prisoners, executions, entire worlds sold to warlords. The Emperor had made deals in secret, deals that condemned countless innocent lives. The images were undeniable. The Emperor's heart raced, but he could not stop them. The truth had already been laid bare, and the Senate began to murmur. Some began to look at the Emperor with disdain. Others whispered in fear. Kael wasn't just exposing the Emperor's crimes. He was tearing apart the Emperor's empire, one truth at a time. Kael's voice grew louder as he continued. "The galaxy is watching. And now, they will know what you have done." The lights in the chamber flickered as the images continued, filling the air with undeniable proof. The Emperor's power, his carefully built empire, was crumbling, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The emperor's face twisted in disbelief. His empire, his rule, everything he had spent years building, was slipping away in front of his eyes. His grip tightened on the throne, but the weight of Kael's words and the overwhelming evidence was too much to ignore. The room, once filled with his loyal supporters, now seemed full of doubt. The murmurs grew louder. Kael Ren's eyes scanned the Senate, locking with the eyes of each senator, each one now faced with a choice. "I have no power here," the emperor said, his voice shaking slightly as he tried to regain control of the room. But the words felt hollow, empty, as the truth continued to hang in the air like a thick fog. Kael didn't flinch. He had waited for this moment for years, biding his time until the perfect moment. The emperor's empire was built on lies and oppression, but Kael had spent years gathering evidence, hidden away in the darkest corners of the galaxy. And now, the people of the galaxy would see it all. One by one, the senators stood, some reluctantly, some with an air of relief. They walked away from the emperor, not out of fear, but out of disgust. The emperor's power was no longer absolute. His throne no longer felt so untouchable. The Senate was turning against him. The betrayal was plain for all to see. The emperor stood, his face contorting with rage, but there was no one to defend him. His guards were frozen, powerless in the face of Kael's truth. The once mighty ruler was alone in the chamber. Kael Ren took one step forward, the quiet confidence in his movements like a silent promise of the change to come. Without a word, Kael reached the emperor, standing face to face with the man who had once ruled the galaxy with fear. Kael's voice was low, but it carried across the silent chamber. "You have no army, no soldiers, no allies left. Only your lies remain." With a single motion, Kael reached out and gripped the emperor by his golden robe, dragging him down the steps of the throne. The emperor stumbled, humiliated in front of billions of viewers. The senators watched in stunned silence as the once untouchable ruler was pulled down, forced to walk the halls of the Senate like a prisoner. The entire galaxy watched as Kael Ren, the man with no army, took the emperor's power away from him. The broadcast continued, and no one dared to stop it. The emperor's final humiliation was now on display for the universe. The Senate had become a stage for the fall of an empire, and the rise of a new era figure now reduced to nothing more than a symbol of the empire's corruption. The Senate chamber, once filled with whispers of fear and power, was now eerily quiet. The cameras continued to broadcast, capturing every humiliating moment. The emperor, struggling against Kael's grip, could do nothing but stumble in shame. His pride, his glory, had been stripped away, and now he was nothing. The senators, who had once been afraid to even glance in the emperor's direction, stood still, watching in stunned silence. Some felt relief, some felt fear, and others felt shame. They had all been complicit in his reign, but today they saw the emperor for what he truly was, a man, not a god. Kael, with quiet determination, led the emperor to the heart of the Senate, where the ancient judgment chamber stood. This was the place where rulers of old were judged, where their fate was decided by the will of the people. The glass walls surrounding it glowed with an eerie light, a cold reminder of what was to come. Kael spoke, his voice steady and clear. "The trial begins now." He activated the chamber systems, and a countdown began. A final vote would be cast, not by the senators, but by the people, the billions who had watched this moment unfold. For one cycle, the entire empire would decide the emperor's fate. Would he face exile, imprisonment, or would his actions be forgiven by those he had oppressed? The emperor, who had once ruled over them all, was now nothing more than a prisoner, locked in the hands of the people's will. The countdown ticked away, each second heavier than the last. And as Kael turned to leave the chamber, the emperor's voice trembled with desperation. "You can't do this. You are nothing. You are just one man." Kael's reply was calm, almost indifferent. One man is all it takes to bring down an empire. With that, Kael Ren walked out of the chamber, leaving the emperor behind. The people's voices would soon be heard, and the emperor's fate would be sealed. The galaxy had watched it all, the fall of a tyrant, and the rise of a new power. And in the void left behind, there was only silence as the emperor was cast into exile. His empire shattered, and a new chapter for humanity had begun. You said, Part 5.